Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Evil Dead fans. I am here to give you just a few tips on things I have personally experienced in Evil Dead that will help everyone out toward being a beginner survivor in Evil Dead the game. So obviously I don't know everything. I haven't played every character yet. My main so far, even in the beta, was Cheryl. I think she'll probably end up being my favorite, but who knows, because I haven't played everybody yet. But I just want to jump in on what I know. And of course, I will be doing in-depth videos of each survivor as the game comes out and I get to spend a little bit of time with each one. So jumping in right into the first tip, getting in cars. Okay, so when you start off in a map or in a match, you're going to see cars laying around on your mini-map. Do not feel compelled to run over and get into a car to drive to the objective. Now, getting into the objective, just really quick before I talk about the car, when you start a match, keep your eyes on the top right of your screen, because at the beginning, a lot of new players, they don't know where to go. But the game actually tells you after a few seconds after starting the area where you're going to be heading to get your first piece of map for the Kandarian Dagger and page locations. So look at your top right, you'll get that information. Don't be compelled to jump into a car. The reason being is when you jump into a car, the demon can see you. So the demon will immediately know where you and chances are everybody else is at, because you're probably going to be hanging out with some of the other survivors. The car is a dead giveaway. It's like a fire alarm for the demon. So be careful about jumping into cars. Try to go to most places on foot if you can. The cars are more for to get away from the demon or to get to the next objective quickly because you're pressed for time. Because time and the timer is very important, a very important pressure of the game. So the car will be used to get to places a lot quicker. Also, definitely during a match, you want to consider how far you are from your other player friends, your fellow teammates. You can kind of wander off. It's okay. You don't have to stick butt to everybody in your team in order to stay alive. It is okay to wander off, especially when you're looting. You know, you reached an area. It's good to split up, you know, to look for loot and to look for your objective, to get more ground covered, because the timer is very pressing. If you're close together, you might not be covering as much ground. As your team gets better, you know, you can split off into groups of twos. Sometimes you can get away with wandering around by yourself, especially if you know that other teammates are being hounded by the demon at some point. If you know that's going on, you're safe. You can kind of be comfortable with wandering around with a friend, whatnot. Other teams can learn to be distractions for the demon while the other two people are doing stuff. There's a combination of strategy that you'll learn as you start to become more comfortable with the game and comfortable with looting and being around the Kandarian demon. And that's, I think, what really makes the game exciting is you don't have to kind of be around each other all the time. There are moments when you can break away from the team. You just have to learn through playing when those times will be and when it's the most comfortable. Pablo, for example, has an element of stealth where the demon can't see him. So he could get away more with running off by himself and actually, you know, get away with it. I don't know, because I haven't played the Kandarian demon, how close you'd have to be before you sense that Pablo is actually around. That's stuff that I have to learn myself. Speaking of that, your fear level, you're going to have to control that, and that is always rising the further you get away from somebody. So if you do wander off by yourself for any kind of reason, be sure that you're looking at the little campfires that are nearby on the mini-map. You're going to want to light those to drop your fear level, and that can happen quite frequently depending on if you're kind of hanging away from the team for any reason. As long as you're near the team, your fear level will not be rising. But there are times when you and your team together will want to hit some of those little campfires up to drop your fear level. The reason why you want to drop your fear level is because when it does go over max, when it reaches that breaking point, essentially, your character can now become possessed by the demon. And the demon possessing your character may not seem like much from watching those gameplays, but it's a severe instance, because now the demon can really lay it onto your teammates and give them, some damage that they didn't really need or that could have been avoided, which puts pressure on the entire team in general. Or they can just take your character and run off into the middle of nowhere, like it can kind of it can throw you off away from the team. And then now you can get attacked or exposed to whatever the demon wants you to be exposed to at the time. There's a number of things that can happen when you're possessed, so you got to be careful about that. Now, one of the bigger things that you're going to have to get used to going in as a beginner player is don't feel compelled to just pick a character because they're your favorite character. I mean, that can be a good reason, but for example, don't just go in and pick Ash from Evil Dead. Because if you look at his abilities are a little bit more advanced. His ability consists of when he hits a target, it'll mark that target for another player. But in the beginning, another player is not going to know to attack the target to deal extra damage, which is what one of his abilities consists of. That will help the team. But, in the beginning, you're going to mark a target, and the other people on your team are not going to know to necessarily hit that target unless you tell them or warn them ahead of time. Be like, hey, if I hit these enemies, follow them up with an attack because it'll deal heavy damage. You'll have to vocally tell them that because a lot of people just aren't going to know. And that's part of his ability. So you want to kind of go in with a character that's going to help the team and that is a little bit, especially in the beginning, beginner friendly. Whereas Ash from Evil Dead 1 is going to probably be a little bit more of an advanced later on when people have figured out the game type of character to play. So then when you get on later on and people are more accustomed to playing and seeing what the characters do in a match, they can be like, oh, this person's playing Ash. I know that when I'm following him, when he attacks enemies, I can follow up with an attack and it'll deal some critical damage. So really hone in on your character's abilities, know what they're doing, try to know everything about them that you can, because those abilities and those perks that you put on them are going to be important toward you winning the match in general and helping the team. Knowing your character. Looting is a big deal and I mentioned this in a previous video. Looting is a big deal in Evil Dead the game because that's what you're going to be doing a lot of the time. The Kandarian demon is going to constantly be attacking you when it can, comfortably, and the result of that is going to be you losing ammo, losing health, losing your armor, and having to go to campfires to deal with your fear. So constantly through the match, after fights and encounters, you're going to have to re-loot everything again, because you can't hold like buku amounts of ammo. You can only hold so much of every item before you start to have to use them. And then so looting becomes a pressure in a way, because now you're going to be fighting with the fact, do I push the objective or do I have time to loot? And that's the pressure of the game, because sometimes you're going to have to push the objective because the timer's running out, and you might not have time, or you might just not be finding anything, or, and you're just not ready for the encounters that are going to be coming up, or the final battle ultimately. So you really got to spend time looting and getting those crates so you can get pink F out of them, so you can, like a JRPG, level up your character and make everybody stronger in preparation for the final fight. That's the only thing I can think of, is it's like a Japanese RPG or any RPG where you're gaining experience in preparation to make yourself stronger for the final battle. That's essentially what looting comes down to in this game. So it's a very key gameplay element. You're going to find a lot of new players, you guys, and this is going to be aggravating. I'm warning you ahead of time. You're going to be, especially if you're getting paired up with randos, you're going to encounter people that are just going for the objective. And you guys, get on the microphone. This is a big tip. I hope you made it this far into the video, because this is a huge tip. Get on your microphone and tell people to loot. A lot of people are going to go straight for the objectives, and they're going to go straight to the end of the match, and you're going to reach the dark ones, but you're not going to be strong enough to deal with that fight. It's a very tough fight at the end. So if you're not pink effed up, if people don't have their legendary weapons ready to go, and you're decked out with the right stuff that you need skill-wise, shimp colas, amulets for shields, and you're really ready, like your team can sit there and be like, okay, we're ready to do this. If you can't say that and you just been rushing objectives, you're going to get to the end of these fights, these end fights, and you're just going to get your ass kicked. So get on your microphone, tell people to loot, take their time. Don't rush the objectives. Rushing the objectives and going really quickly and breezing through everything is not the way. The Kandarian demon will gain strength and kick your ass. Now, if you do it ultra fast, you might be able to get to the point where you get to the end and the demon hasn't been able to level up either. But it depends. Like, if you guys have been running around not finding stuff, the demon's powering up, you know? So it goes hand in hand. You might be able to rush stuff and get to the end, and the demon also hasn't had a chance to power up. But more than likely, the demon's going to end up stronger. So you got to be careful. Looting, very important. And again, use your mic. Be respectful. Use pings. There is a pinging system in the game. You can ping almost everything. Use those in-game voice commands. They are there. If you don't use a microphone, use the ping system. Much like VHS, this is a very team-based game. You want to give players as much info as you can. If you find a gun, here's the thing. If you find a gun, don't just run by it. You don't need it? Ping it. Let somebody else know, because they might need it. It's very important. Ping everything you can for other players if you don't need it. Now, the pink F is shared. Like, if you find a crate and you open it up and the pink F comes out, ping that too. Ping the crate, because when you pick all that stuff up, it's shared between all players. So when you pick up the stuff that's in there, there is still, the other players can still see it. It doesn't go away for them. They can still see the stuff that's in that crate. So then they can come and pick up the same stuff that you picked up. So definitely pick up the crate. Now, other stuff that you see laying around the map, that stuff is not shared. Only the stuff in the crates, unless they change it from the beta in any way. That's the way it was in the beta. The stuff in the crates are shared between everybody. The stuff you see laying around on the map, and I think that come out of enemies, is not shared. So take the initiative, ask other players if they need anything. More than likely, other players will be silent starting off. So, and they'll need stuff, but they won't say anything. So it's up to you to ask them if they need ammo, amulets. For example, speaking on the amulets, which give you a shield, if you give an amulet to Cheryl, who is a healer, it gives everybody a little bit of armor, as opposed to just one person using that amulet for themselves for a block of armor. Now everybody gets some. So that's where some of the strategy comes in. Cheryl, give her all the amulets. It'll give everybody armor, especially if she has like 3 or 4 of them. It's just going to buff the entire team. Anything that can benefit the entire team and keep everyone going strong. Do not be afraid to get on your mic or in the chat and be like, hey, do you guys need anything? Because a weak player, weak being low on ammo, health, armor, weak weapons, if a player is weak in any certain area, they could end up downed and it'll affect the whole team. So you want to make sure everybody's as strong as possible. If they're ill-equipped to handle the more fierce encounters, that's going to end up ultimately just getting the whole team killed, like I said. So helping everyone stay as strong as they can will really help the whole team stay alive and be able to take out the demon, of course. So that's pretty much it. These are the key beginner strats, among getting good, and then you're going to learn more advanced strats to build off of that foundation in the game. These are very beginner friendly tips. Listen to the video again if you didn't grasp everything. This is if everybody in your team is following these steps, you'll be really good in a match. So, all right, you guys, that'll be it. I can't wait. It's coming up in just a couple of days now. And we're going to be rocking it, man. It's going to be great. I can't wait to get in. The beauty of this game is going to be going in, messing around with character builds, skills, abilities, perks, and all this stuff, seeing what works best for the team. That's what's going to make this game really fun to play, going against the Kandarian Demon, who is also strategizing. The back and forth is really amazing. You guys have a good one. I will see you in the next Evil Dead video. Bye-bye. Ah!